welcome to Banished Voices. We're your hosts. I'm Jenna.
And I'm Shannon.
Here on this beautiful Monday.
Monday.
We got to hang out this weekend. Our girls had a cheer comp. They killed it.
First comp of the season.
Yeah, it was so
Green
fun.
sweep, baby.
Yes. I loved finally watching them after months of hard work.
Yes.
And now back to it, huh?
Yeah. Let's learn about some new missing folks again.
Yeah. This one has a missing person, but it's different than
Interesting.
some of our others. All right. The voice on the line was barely a whisper. I need help. Struggling to hear, the call taker responded, "Hello?" Only the smallest bit louder, the woman repeated, "I need help." "Okay, where are you located?" Whoever was on the other end answered so quietly the call taker couldn't hear her. "I'm sorry, ma'am, I can't hear you." "I know," came the hushed response. 553 Sheldon Avenue, Southeast. "Please hurry now." The woman was pleading, still in that whispered tone. The call taker repeated the address back. 553 Sheldon. "Okay, can you tell me what's going on there?" The response was desperate, begging with whoever answered the call to understand how terrifying her situation was. "Can you just hurry up, please? I'm gonna die. He's trying to kill me. He already killed my auntie. Can you hurry up, please?" "Okay, ma'am, I'll start the police that way. Can you tell me what your name is?" "Keyona," she whispered, and then the call disconnected. It was 10:29 a.m. on March 13th, 2019. A quiet morning in Grand Rapids, Michigan. The caller was 25-year-old Keyona Griffin, pleading with the call taker to understand the situation and send help. Keyona's fear was palpable. Someone had just been killed and she knew she was next. But what came after this call would not be the help that she needed to save her. Keyona was 25, having just a few days before celebrated that birthday. She was vibrant, gorgeous, with strong family ties. She was ambitious, she was lively, down to earth, and working hard towards building a fulfilling future. In March of 2019, she was living with her aunt, Cherletta Baber-Bey, who was 47 years old, in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Cherletta was known as a kind, trustworthy, and caring person in her family, an aunt who had opened her home happily to have Keyona stay. She was described as loving, dependable, and beautiful inside and out. Cherletta and Keyona were more like mother and daughter in some ways, sharing a tight familial bond under the same roof. Also living in the home was the woman who owned it. Her name was Jacqueline. She had been at work since 8 a.m. that day. The fourth housemate was Cherletta's long-term boyfriend, only known as Jay to the family. Jay was 45 years old at the time, and he had been part of Cherletta and Keyona's household in daily life. Neighbors described the household as generally quiet, nothing that foreshadowed the violence about to erupt. There was no public indication of what was brewing inside the home on the days leading up to March 13th. But on that day, a Wednesday, the peaceful facade shattered. Jay, it turns out, was not the man's real name. He was a mysterious figure. The family didn't know him very well. He had no social media presence.
So wait, how long had the aunt been dating him?
He had been living with them for about 2 years now.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and they didn't know his name even. They just knew Jay.
I'm sure because that's what he was going by, but...
The aunt, I guess, really didn't like social situations, and they spent a lot of time just the two of them.
Yeah.
Which may have contributed.
But yeah, he probably
encouraged
her based on her not wanting to be outside, just hanging out at home.
Oh, I'm sure that's part of it.
Mm-hmm.
It was her first real boyfriend, actually, according to family.
The aunts.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
He avoided using cell phones, and he had used multiple aliases in his life. Some of the names he went by included J.J. Robinson, Michael Richardson, and Marcus Wright, among countless others. Friends and relatives were unaware of any current situation in the household, but Jay's past, which would soon cast a dark shadow over the family. According to police and court records, there were troubling signs beneath the surface. Jay, it turns out, was really Daryl Brown. He had a history of domestic violence prior to 2019. Family members later recounted that Cherletta always tried to see the best in Jay, despite anything going on. Jay also was not currently employed. In early 2019, there were 4 people living in the house. So we had Cherletta, Keyona, Jay, or Daryl, and Jacqueline. The house was a modest 2-story residence near downtown Grand Rapids. Keyona had been staying there for some time, and Cherletta took pride in helping her niece get going in life. Back to March 13th, it was 10:29 in the morning when Keyona dialed 911. When the dispatcher answered, Keyona did not, or probably could not, shout or speak loudly. Her call was all whispered into the phone. In the recorded call, which lasts less than a minute, Keyona urgently is begging the dispatcher for help. When she said, "I'm going to die, he's trying to kill me. He already killed my..." The end of the sentence was muffled, but they were able to tell later that she was talking about her aunt. In fact, we know that at that time, Cherletta had been shot moments before. Keyona was hiding and terrified, trying not to be heard by the killer as she made the call. She did manage to convey the essential details, the address, and that there was an assailant in the house trying to kill her. The call taker on the line attempted to get more information, but time was scarce. According to the transcript later released, the dispatcher, or call taker as the police chief later referred to this person, told Keyona that help was being sent to her location. In the background of the call, nothing can be heard, which suggests either Keyona was hiding or trying to stay hidden and quiet. Grand Rapids police units were dispatched to the house on Sheldon Avenue in response to the call. They arrived 7 minutes and 41 seconds after the call disconnected. 3 officers walked up to the house, unsure what they would find. According to later investigative reports, officers knocked at the address but could not get anyone to answer the door. They knocked with their fists. They tried the door knocker. They tried the doorknob. Silence. The house was quiet.
So that's a little interesting.
Mm-hmm.
That your 911 caller says he's trying to kill me and you don't bust down the door?
Yeah. And you're not the only one that thinks that. And their response is, well, Keyona called from a cell phone.
Yeah.
And she gave the address. She said he's trying to kill her.
Yeah.
They said if she had been calling from a landline, they would have known she was calling from inside the house.
Okay, because 2019, this is still before where you can actually probably put your cell phone into the 911. But yeah, they still don't necessarily know that the phone is located there.
Right. They said it could have been anywhere in the general vicinity, and that didn't give them permission when there were no other signs of disturbance.
Yeah.
They said they can't knock down.
I mean, okay, true. It does seem a little...
If she's...
Well, and at the same time, for their protection, they don't know what they're walking into. I mean, they're knocking, but...
And they only sent 3 officers.
That seems okay for the moment.
But like you said, depending on what they're walking into, because Keyona wasn't able to say, she said, he's going to kill me.
Well, okay, because I'm thinking about my personal situation where...
I was thinking about that too as I was working on this.
Because the only reason we heard people on the megaphone was because we went outside. And otherwise you couldn't hear that from inside my house. And then when we opened the door, there was already 7 police officers there. So I'm being very vague, but basically a neighbor, a ceramic bowl of macaroni and cheese had fell on the floor and cracked on my tile. But somehow a neighbor decided that that was a gunshot and that they heard screaming and somebody was being murdered in my house. So I had 8 armed police officers at my front door with shields.
Right.
Telling me to walk out of my house backward. It was a crazy situation. And they were very unhappy when they found out it was a bowl of macaroni and cheese on tile floor.
Do you think they would have come in?
I do, because I even kind of said, like, it was such a fluke that we even heard you, because, again, the only reason is we were letting the dog, well, and it wasn't even me, it was the boyfriend letting the dog outside, and he heard it, and he's like, our address is being called on a speakerphone, and I was like, what? Like, neither one of us had any clue what that meant.
Wild. Yeah.
Until he went to the front door and then left, and then I walked to the front door, so then I started getting commands. But again, every city is different, but 3 cops versus 8 that are all armed with ARs. I was like, okay.
And they're not going into the house where the call came from.
They were given my address.
Right. And so
which is weird because I don't know my neighbors' addresses.
Yeah, that's true. I don't either.
I know they skip numbers. I know mine, but I couldn't tell you what the one to my left and to my right is. So I think that's weird, but I'm sure the police looked it up.
Even in odds.
Yes.
We're even in their odd.
See, I don't even think mine is that specific.
Probably not.
In the cul-de-sac. I don't know.
So thinking about that, which we had talked about before, she's calling from in here.
Just the panic in her voice. I have to think that my neighbor didn't sound panicked.
Right.
The same way. Anyway.
No. When the officers were there checking the door, they're looking in the windows. They did check a couple other doors around the residence. They were all locked, secure. There's no obvious signs of a crime from outside the house. There's no screaming, no broken windows. The responding officers asked their dispatcher to call back the 911 caller. They tried. She didn't answer. With no answer from Keyona, no obvious signs of a crime going on, the police, after 3 minutes and 42 seconds, left without ever entering the home.
What?
Yeah. By the time she called to when they got there was 9 minutes or less.
Yeah.
If only they had gone in.
That seems so unlike anything we normally hear.
Yeah. Normally, I mean, in our cases, they're saying they're probably off partying. But then when you listen to other true crime.
Yeah. Like 911, I'm in the emergency situation. Please hurry. You show up and you don't hear anything. I'm like trying to think about it from their side, but
it's tough.
That just doesn't seem logical.
Right. Agreed. In an interview with MLive News, Grand Rapids Police Chief John, and I apologize if I say this name incorrectly, Witkowski, said, quote, "With hindsight being 2020, yes, the officers and dispatchers are absolutely beating themselves up over this." He said that Keyona spoke to a call taker who provided the information to a dispatcher. The dispatcher then alerted police both verbally and by way of an in-car computer. He said that if the officers had something, saw something, anything was, quote, amiss or awry, they would have gone in. He also said that the level of urgency was missed in these multiple communications.
Yeah, I wonder if that is why they have started the add your cell phone to the 911 list.
Probably.
This can't be the only place that this type of situation has happened.
Right.
But again, did they yell on a bullhorn?
No.
I'm like,
yeah,
I don't know.
Because if she has been injured, of course she can't pick up the phone. If she's in the room with the killer who's pointing a gun at her, threatening her to be quiet, she can't scream with police there.
Yeah, that's weird. Because again, I don't know if they would have entered my house with force if I didn't respond to the bullhorn asking us to come outside. But that was the impression I had.
Yeah.
Because it was super, like, you couldn't hear it inside my house. You only heard it because the dog was let outside. And that prompted my boyfriend to go to the front door and open it. And it still wasn't even clicking as to why would somebody be yelling our address on a bullhorn, because that was not something I'd ever experienced before.
Nope. The fateful decision of those officers meant that the opportunity to possibly save Keyona's life was lost. It would be hours before anyone checked the house again. It was exactly 2 hours and 18 minutes later, a little bit after 1 p.m., a second call to 911 brought officers back to 553 Sheldon. This time, the call was made by a man who identified himself as the brother of one of the victims. Reporting varies. I saw multiple sources who just said the brother of one of the victims. I saw some that said Keyona's brother and some that said Cherletta's brother.
Family member? Okay.
Yeah. Regardless, he's related to both of them because we've got an aunt and a niece. He had come to the house because he was worried about Keyona.
That sounds like it would be her brother then.
That's the feeling
Especially
I
when he
got.
says, my sister isn't moving,
Yes.
and then...
But neither were moving. But then he also says Keyona.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
Keyona's mother had been trying to reach her that morning. She wasn't answering, which I believe she reached out. His name is Sanford, to ask him to go check. When he arrived, he found a shocking scene. And I'm not exactly sure how he got in, if he had a key. It did sound like police tried multiple doors, and they said in the report they were all locked. But
yeah, I'm sure he did. It's kind of the whole, hey, here's a key to my house in case I lose mine, you can bring it to me. Right. I'm like, my parents have keys to my house.
Mine have the door
Yeah.
keypad thing. But so yeah, same. When Sanford arrived, he found a trail of blood and 2 motionless bodies inside the home. Panicked, he dialed 911. In his call, he frantically told the dispatcher, "There's blood everywhere, and my sister isn't moving." One can only imagine the horror that he had walked into. He can be heard on the 911 call saying, "Oh my Lord, please, Keyona, please wake up, please." Grand Rapids police rushed back to the Sheldon Avenue address, arriving shortly after the brothers' call. This time, police officers entered the house and confirmed the worst. 2 women were deceased inside. The victims were quickly identified as Keyona Griffin, 25, and her aunt Cherletta, age 47. Keyona's prediction during her 911 call had sadly come true. She was found dead, and they believe not far from where she made that desperate call. Keyona was found on the first floor of the home. According to later autopsy reports, she had been shot 4 times, including a gunshot wound to the face. And this is my other question. Maybe there were no neighbors home, but if there were at least 5 shots fired, possibly more. I'm curious why no neighbor called police. Maybe that would have helped prompt them to go inside.
Yeah.
If they have the call from Keyona and also from neighbors.
Did they ask any of the neighbors if they heard anything?
I am not entirely sure.
Okay.
The investigators said that the multiple wounds suggested a violent struggle or a determined killer. Investigators believe Keyona was likely shot very soon after that 911 call disconnected, but we don't have an exact time. So that 7 minutes and then there are 3 minutes there.
That's pretty specific.
Yeah.
That's a good window.
So it's unclear if that happened before the officers got there or after.
I have to assume before, since she wasn't picking up or...
Depending on where she was hiding or what was happening right before she called.
Well, so now I'm thinking of when I've accidentally dialed 911. Like, I remember I was driving and I guess the vibration caused my phone to somehow dial 911. So all of a sudden I hear, because then it's connected to my car, and I hear 911 calling and I'm like, wait, what? So I answer it. They're like, yeah, did you just call us? I was like, no, I'm literally driving down the street. Like, everything's fine. But just the fact that, and I said, I think my phone butt dialed you.
It's happened to me too before.
The fact that they called back right away. So if they don't know how her call disconnected, why didn't they try calling back?
And she might have.
And I feel like when that happened, I feel like it was around this time frame of year. So it's like, okay, well, you called me back. Why didn't you call her back? Yeah. If no one can verify if she hung up or whatever.
And they do say when they tried to call back when the officers were there, she didn't answer.
Yeah, true.
But he could have found her right as the call disconnected too. Cherletta was found upstairs in her bedroom. She was on her bed with a blanket. She had her iPad propped up next to her on a pillow. She had been shot once with a bullet to the back of her head, execution style. Investigators say Cherletta was probably ambushed. She had her AirPods in. She was watching something on her iPad. When investigators arrived, some reporting says that her iPad was still playing and her AirPods were still in, which is just extra haunting. It's just such a normal thing. The crime scene was painfully clear to authorities. Both women had been shot to death inside their own home, presumably by someone they knew and trusted. They found no signs of forced entry, so immediately they're assuming it's somebody that was able to get in, or they let in, they let stay. There was no indication of a burglary or anything. Nothing of significant value appeared to be stolen from the house. And the door was locked when police first came. Either the killer was still in there or locked up after they left. Detectives on scene, thankfully, immediately began treating the house as a homicide scene, roping it off and collecting evidence. They knew they were looking for a killer who likely, obviously, had fled in the last couple hours. It wasn't a long time frame between when they were there the first time, Keyona's phone call, and when Sanford had called for them to come again. One crucial fact stood out. The only person unaccounted for was Cherletta's live-in boyfriend, Jay. Jacqueline, the one who owned the home, had been at work since 8 a.m.
No, did Jacqueline live there too?
She did.
Okay.
She lived there. She owned the home. She was 64, 65. She was Cherletta's sister. They have the same last name.
Okay.
Now, we mentioned that family didn't know much about this man, including his real name. So investigators start looking through the house. They're trying to find who is this man that also lives here. Is he kidnapped? Did he have something to do with this? They were going through Cherletta's closet and they found an orange Nike shoebox on the top shelf. In it, they found old jail mail letters to Cherletta from a man named Daryl Brown. In one of these letters, Daryl tells Cherletta that he goes by Jay, and every letter is signed Jay at the bottom.
So she knew
Mm-hmm.
he was an ex-con.
Yep.
Was the family aware? Obviously, I know did they know that he had a past and that she met him basically through pen pal from jail?
It sounds like from the description of she always tried to see the best in him, that she was only sharing the highlights.
Okay.
Because I didn't see anywhere that they had told police that he had been in prison.
Criminal, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, yeah, clearly not. And they didn't even know his real name.
Right. Responding officers noted that Daryl's car was gone and he was nowhere to be found. Family members on scene confirmed that he should have been there that morning. He had been living at the house for around 2 years and he didn't have a job, so he was there most days. Detectives quickly pieced together Cherletta and Keyona were murdered and Daryl's missing. He very well could be the prime suspect. The suspicion would harden into certainty as evidence was gathered. In the initial search of the residence, investigators made a critical early discovery. They found a handgun believed to be the murder weapon. The firearm was kind of hidden in the house. Some reporting says that it was in a plastic bag that also had ammunition in it. The police ran the gun's serial number and they learned that it had been reported stolen in 2017. So they sent it off for testing.
So he was potentially out of jail and potentially stole this weapon or bought it off the street because it was stolen.
Right. They were able to trace the serial number back to a woman who had dated a man named Daryl Brown.
Oh, so he stole it from her.
Yes. And she had reported that he was abusive and controlling, and it sounds like terrifying, and would harass her even up until 2018, 2019. And I find that interesting. If he didn't have a cell phone, how was he harassing her?
He did, but he didn't let Cherletta know about it.
It could be those, what are they?
Yeah, the burners.
Yeah. Ballistic analysis confirmed that the bullets recovered from the victims were fired by this weapon. Investigators also probably found other forensic clues, but everything hasn't been released. Fingerprints, things like that. It seems like he was still in the house when police got there the first time. I can't find if his car was there or not for sure.
Oh, yeah, because now it's gone. But yeah, was it there when they were there the first time?
Right. So he didn't have a lot of time if he's hearing police there to leave. Authorities later stated that additional evidence soon identified Brown as the prime suspect in the double homicide. As the day turned to evening on March 13th, 2019, an alert went out for law enforcement nationwide. Daryl Damon Brown was wanted for questioning and soon on an arrest warrant in connection with the double murder. Brown had vanished sometime between Keyona's call at 10:29 a.m. and a little bit after 1 p.m. when her brother arrived. Given the timeline, police believe that Brown likely fled the house immediately after killing Keyona, either missing the officers as he left right before they got there or was quiet and then left after they left. There's a little bit of information about what he was up to during that time. In the days after, officers were looking for surveillance cameras. They were trying to find anything to give them an idea of where Brown went and what his travel path was. Detectives also scoured 553 Sheldon and all the neighbors for video, doorbell cams, things like that. One of his first stops after he left was the Grand Rapids Children's Museum on Sheldon at Fulton Street. The museum's internal cameras showed Daryl entering the building at 3:24 p.m. and exiting 12 minutes later at 3:36 p.m. An employee said that Brown had told the front desk he knew someone inside the building. Museum staff told investigators that they had made it clear that he could not just wander around the children's museum. And I find it interesting that he was still so close to where it happened more than 2 hours after he left.
Yeah, but why?
And who's he looking for?
Can't he wander around a museum?
Oh, I don't think he wanted to pay. I think he just wanted to go in,
okay,
see someone, and then leave.
Ah,
They're like, we can page someone for you,
right.
But we're not just letting you in.
Right.
Around 20 minutes after that stop, there is surveillance of him walking in the area of Leonard Street and Turner Avenue. Police later discovered that one of his former girlfriends had dropped him off in that neighborhood. Soon after
that day?
Yeah. So I don't know if that's who was in the museum that he got to then drop him off.
So he's kept in contact with a lot of, harassing and now another ex.
And I have stories about another ex that we'll get to as well.
Right.
After that sighting, he vanished. And to this day, never
we don't know
been
where he
found.
is.
Yep.
Okay.
Which now we're coming up on 7 years.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. News outlets, specifically a news outlet called Target 8, tried to contact Daryl's family in Grand Rapids. They said that when they knocked on the door of the family home, a woman told us, "Get your expletive away from my house." So not super helpful at all. Investigators say later that it's possible Brown may have seen police knocking while he was hiding, either outside of the home or inside. It's just such a razor-thin margin. It's so close to ending completely differently than it did. At the crime scene, detectives worked on building their case. They documented the position of the bodies. They recovered multiple 9mm shell casings that were scattered around the bedroom and the first floor. They noted Cherletta's body in her bed upstairs and Keyona's in another room, indicating that the killings happened in separate areas of the house. Blood evidence and bullet trajectories told a story of Keyona trying to evade Daryl as she was trying to desperately get away. The phone was found near Keyona or in her pocket, depending on reporting. One haunting realization for investigators was that Keyona's 911 call had almost saved her life. Grand Rapids police leadership reviewed the circumstances that led officers to walk away earlier that day when they found no answer at the door, and they concluded that it appeared to be a tragic miscommunication. They say that the dispatcher from the call taker didn't understand the full urgency of what was happening.
I don't know. Whispering, he's going to kill me. I mean, I understand they probably deal with prank calls.
But it comes back to, I would rather have you over-investigate.
Well, like I said, when my phone butt dialed 911 and they called me and I was like, no, I'm so sorry. There's no emergency. I'm literally just driving.
Right.
And then one of my kids did it too. And I was just like, yeah, no, sorry. There's no emergency.
Yes. So, and the same thing when that's happened to me.
Yeah. So.
Yep.
Yeah. That just seems weird. In my example, it was someone else calling versus I'm calling. I'm saying I'm in danger. I'm saying he's going to kill me. I don't know. That just seems more...
Not a prank call.
Right. It seems more obvious that there's truly an emergency versus, hey, I think I heard a gunshot at my neighbor's house.
Right.
And some crash and now there's silence. So I think they're dead.
Yeah. Yeah. By the end of that day, the Grand Rapids Police Department officially named Daryl Brown as the sole suspect in the murders of Cherletta and Keyona. An arrest warrant was drafted, and Brown was charged in absentia with 2 counts of open murder, a Michigan charge for homicide, and with possession of a stolen firearm recovered at the scene.
Did he have any prior attempted murder or murder?
I believe it was more domestic abuse and stolen firearms and things like that.
Okay.
Yeah. As the investigation zeroed in on Brown, more details about his background emerged. He was no stranger to violence, according to police. They described him as having a history of domestic violence prior to this incident. Public records later showed that Brown had prior arrests related to assault and domestic disputes. The specifics are not widely publicized, which I'm sure is to avoid contaminating any future jury. It's not clear if Cherletta herself had ever reported any abuse at Brown's hands, but it was known that Brown's previous relationships have been troubled. There is a pastor, his name is Reverend Robert Dean. He spoke with Wood TV Target 8 News in a different report. He said that years prior, he had allowed a homeless man to stay in his church that he owned. He had zero concerns about the man's behavior. The Reverend said that this man was always helpful. It didn't matter. He would shovel snow, cut grass. He seemed grateful to be staying there. Totally mild-mannered. He literally calls him in this reporting Jekyll and Hyde. While he was living there, a woman showed up and...
Living at the church?
Or staying at the church. About 3 months into him living there, the Reverend said that he received a phone call from a woman who had been dating this man. And she said, "You're his pastor. Can I come talk to you?" He said, "Yes, of course." She came. She explained that this man living there had forbidden her to talk to any men, which was something her job required. She tried to get across how controlling Brown was. She asked if this pastor could help convince him to be less possessive. She said he was very nice, very mannerable, but there was this, and this is a quote, this certain little element that she was afraid of. It was at this point in their conversation that Brown barged into the pastor's office. The pastor says, quote, "I was like, oh, I was just talking about you." And he's like, "I forbid her to talk to males." And I said, "Oh, no, you're not." I said, "You sit down. This is my office. Like, you can't tell me what to do." Then he told the news station that the woman opened her mouth to speak and Brown lunged at her as if he was going to hit her. The pastor is completely shocked. He has not seen this side of Brown ever. It was completely different than anything he was used to. The pastor said, quote, he jumps out of his chair and says, "I'll slap you," just right there in front of Pastor Dean. He said he moved quickly to prevent that from happening, and he kicked him out of the church and said, "I don't want to see you with her at all ever again."
Right.
He said, "You need counseling, you need professional help." But again, just that example, he had lived there for 3 full months, helping day in, day out. No indication that he had that violent side that could just flip like a switch.
And that kind of goes along with him juggling multiple women and then controlling them so that they're not, him not having a social media footprint, again, to keep people out of his business.
Investigators learned, related to that Brown was an extremely elusive individual. He had a, quote, habit of using fake names and IDs. He is known to use at least half a dozen aliases in different states. Some of the names linked to him were the ones we mentioned before. Daryl Robinson.
How many states is he
linked
to? Yeah.
I believe 4.
Okay.
So Michigan, 5, sorry. Michigan, then also Georgia, Wisconsin, Ohio, and Arizona. They're places that he has family or has been known to stay and be at. And since we have a lot of listeners here in Arizona, we will definitely be posting a picture of him. The names linked to him, in case any ring a bell, are Daryl Robinson, Carter Brown, Derek Brown, Michael Richardson, Marcus Wright, and Jay. This suggests to authorities that Brown has perhaps been involved in other crimes or had reasons to hide his identity long before these murders. Also, it implies that tracking him down is difficult. They thought it would be difficult at the time and has proved to be so. Another complicating factor was Brown's lifestyle, since he doesn't use social media. He is not known to have a personal cell phone in any traceable way. Police are used to fugitives leaving digital trails, and Brown effectively is not leaving one of those. Detectives obviously can't ping a cell phone or go through socials for clues. He's deliberately avoided those things. And by 2019, that's such a rarity. I believe that there have to be other things he's running or hiding from. While Brown spent most of his life in Grand Rapids, we mentioned he has connections beyond there. Almost immediately, law enforcement in the states listed, so Michigan, Georgia, Wisconsin, Ohio, and Arizona, were notified to be on alert. The acting U.S. Marshal for West Michigan said, quote, "Daryl Brown has lived in Grand Rapids his entire life, but he has relatives in Wisconsin, Arizona, Georgia, and Ohio," emphasizing how far Brown's network extended. And he had a head start. He possibly got out of Michigan right after he was seen being dropped off, possibly switching cars with someone, I'm not sure. In the weeks and months following the murders, efforts to capture Daryl Brown intensified. Grand Rapids Police, the Michigan State Police, and
so, any tea on Marcus? His actual name is Derek.
Oh.
I'm in the Are We Dating the Same Guy to see if any bit of these aliases are showing up.
Interesting.
I don't know his age. Well,
he's 47 or 48.
Right, but
now.
I don't know if that guy's age.
Oh, gotcha. Did you find a picture of him to compare to?
Yes. I just think it's funny. I don't think that guy is him, but I do think it's funny that it's the two
of the names, and it's like one of the first ones that popped up. Yeah. That's a good idea to track that, because you don't need
clearly
them
likes
post.
Women.
Yes.
And uses women to survive.
And women would share that after cutting ties with him. Grand Rapids Police, the Michigan State Police, and eventually federal agents all joined the hunt to find Daryl Brown. Early leads were very sparse. Brown's vehicle was found abandoned in Michigan not long after, suggesting that he switched cars or took a bus or a train. Authorities reached out to the public for assistance. In April 2019, Grand Rapids investigators and Cherletta's relatives appeared on local news. asking anyone who knew Brown's whereabouts to come forward. A family spokesperson said, "We just want justice for Keyona and Cherletta." Flyers with Brown's photograph were distributed around town and sent to other jurisdictions. Crime Stoppers offered a cash reward, initially a few $1,000s, hoping to incentivize someone to speak up. Over the summer of 2019, the case did get some national attention. The television show In Pursuit with John Walsh, which profiles fugitives, picked up Brown's story. In an episode aired in late 2019, John Walsh, who is a well-known victims advocate, many of you might know, highlighted the murders of Keyona and Cherletta. The show presented Brown as a dangerous suspect on the run, detailing his aliases and warning that he might be hiding in one of his known out-of-state haunts. This exposure generated new tips, according to Kent County prosecutor Chris Becker. Quote, "The search was recently highlighted on In Pursuit with John Walsh, and that brought important attention to the case. Several viewers called in with possible leads after seeing the episode. The potential sightings were in Atlanta and all the way up as close as Milwaukee. Detectives followed up on each and every single tip, but they weren't able to find Brown. By early 2020, so nearly a year after this happened, Kent County prosecutors took a further step. They formally charged Brown with 2 counts of open murder in the deaths of Keyona and Cherletta and obtained a warrant for his arrest. Open murder in Michigan means he would face either first-degree or second-degree murder charges. The fact that charges were authorized indicated that prosecutors felt they had more than enough evidence tying Brown to the crime. This was not just a missing person of interest. He is now a murder suspect.
Have they talked to his relatives to see if they've heard from him? Or, I mean, I'm like, he wasn't living with them, so I almost wonder if they had cut him off after his previous
because you could take that one interaction as either we don't want to talk about him or we're not telling you anything.
We're not going to help. I'm not snitching.
Yeah. It hasn't been released that I could find because I also wondered that too. I'm sure they've got eyes
everywhere.
At least then they did. And he is on the FBI's most wanted list, which is just wild to me that they haven't been able to find him.
Right.
Grand Rapids police stressed that Brown should be considered armed and dangerous. They assumed that he might harm others if cornered. As months turned into years and he evaded capture, that prompted the escalation of the case at the federal level. In 2021, the U.S. Marshals Service was asked to assist in tracking Brown. The Marshals are experts at fugitive hunting. That's what they do. They brought in additional resources, a federal unlawful flight to avoid prosecution, which is a UFAP warrant, was issued, making Brown's flight itself a federal crime. In January 2023, the U.S. Marshals Service made a significant announcement. Darrell Damon Brown was added to the U.S. Marshals' 15 most wanted fugitive list. This is a list of the most high-profile, dangerous fugitives being sought by the Marshals. It is a clear signal that Brown has not been caught, and they don't have the leads or tips that they need to find him, and that this case is a top priority. The Marshals also offered a $25,000 reward for information leading to his arrest. Donald Washington, who is the director of the U.S. Marshals Services, said, quote, "Darrell Brown's alleged crimes make him a significant threat to the public, so it is crucial that we locate him. Our deputies, along with our federal, state, and local law enforcement partners, are determined to bring Brown to justice." Then he emphasized the award and appealed to anyone with knowledge of Brown's whereabouts to come forward. And you would almost think that by this long later, there has to be people that he's been in contact with. He can't just be living by himself in the mountains.
No.
He can't survive.
He can't get anything. I'm assuming based on he's using women, we just change his locations.
Yes.
Probably uses burners.
Yep.
And
fake names.
Which also explains why he doesn't work. So there's no taxes being filed.
How are you getting around?
I mean, I wonder
Unless
if
you
he's
steal
left the
stuff
U.S.
or-
now.
Possibly. I don't have any background on family outside of the U.S.
No, but you could leave,
south,
like
yeah.
go to Mexico, and
Yeah.
Canada would be much harder, but just go to Mexico and never come back. And
It's wild to me, but also at the same time, I had not heard about this case.
no,
I've never heard it covered. It is possible that he is dating women that have not heard about anything related
considering
to
he
him.
went 2 years, I mean, we don't know if there was any violent tendencies in those 2 years with Cherletta, but I don't know. And even the church where he was living 3 months before, and it was only because a female showed up.
Exactly. That
Like,
he was
otherwise,
already.
there would have been no indication that he was violent.
Yes. And because he was already controlling and possessive of her, he couldn't turn that switch to stay neutral in front of the pastor. The acting U.S. Marshal in Grand Rapids, a man named Bruce Norden, underscored how ordinary Brown might appear despite how heavy his crimes are. He pointed out that he looks very unassuming and could literally be standing behind you in a grocery checkout line, which is chilling. He wanted to remind everyone that Brown had successfully blended into other communities before. He could be using any one of the aliases or have created new ones, living under the radar in any city. In late 2023, a possible sighting of Brown in Dayton, Ohio, was reported to the U.S. Marshals in Ohio. The tip said that Brown was using a different alias.
Of course.
He was spotted at a bus station. They investigated. They released surveillance images, but the lead went cold. The man in question couldn't be conclusively identified as Brown. By February 2024, authorities publicly acknowledged that Brown may have been spotted in Dayton, then reiterated the $25,000 reward, along with a reminder that Brown is considered armed and dangerous. As of the latest updates available, Daryl Damon Brown remains a fugitive. He is still on the U.S. Marshals 15 Most Wanted list, and the investigation to find him is ongoing. Law enforcement strongly believes that Brown fled Michigan immediately after murdering Cherletta and Keyona. They suspect that family or associates have been helping him hide and evade capture over the years. Given his apparent ability to live off of the grid and just in the social phone type grid, not in the mountains in a cabin like they say about, for example, Robert Fisher. They said he could be working cash jobs, staying with people who don't know his true identity, and moving frequently. The marshals urged the public to not forget about this case, highlighting that justice for Keyona and Cherletta depends on finding Brown. The murders of Cherletta and Keyona obviously devastated their family. In the immediate aftermath, however, relatives had to not only cope with the violent loss of their two loved ones and the dread that the suspect, someone they knew, was on the loose, but Cherletta's mother.
Okay.
And also...
So that's Jacqueline.
Jacqueline.
Yeah.
Cherletta's mother, Jacqueline, who is Keyona's great aunt, was still living in the home. In 2020, the family held a vigil for Cherletta and Keyona. The family and the community turned out in large numbers to mourn. In July of 2020, at 9:02 a.m., a call came in to an address that the community knew well, 553 Sheldon. The call reported that the house was on fire. Captain Paul Mason of the Grand Rapids Fire Department said that the first arriving crew found a heavy volume of fire on the front of the house. There was no one standing out front, yet there were cars in the driveway. Firefighters went in and unfortunately found Jacqueline, who was 65 at the time, and her grandson, who was 5, in a second-floor bedroom at the back of the house. Both had died of smoke inhalation.
Oh, man.
Yeah. They had candles lit inside. It appears to be an accident. So tragic. The family had to mourn 2 more members of their family. The candles had been lit for a vigil held the night before to honor Cherletta and Keyona.
And they caught the house on fire?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no.
It was like in an enclosed back porch area.
Oh, wow.
After the fire, it was so bad that they had to take down the whole house.
Yeah, I wondered if it was not salvageable.
Yeah, it wasn't. Ugh, heartbreaking. Also, fighting the blaze, it was huge. It just was all-encompassing. 2 firefighters were injured.
Okay, that's weird for just some candles for a vigil.
So they said that there was no evidence of arson or any evidence of a criminal act, but that fire may have started an electrical fire or something that spread more rapidly through the home. Yes, agreed. For candles, that's
right.
Really
Right.
awful.
Yeah, and for there to be smoke inhalation, I know that takes a minute.
Right.
So,
and maybe they
which I'm assuming they were asleep.
Yes.
So, okay, that I understand, but vigil candles seems, again, odd. And especially for it to spread that quickly.
Right. Ugh, so sad. Almost 7 years have passed since the murders of Keyona and Cherletta, and Daryl Damon Brown, who is now 51, has yet to be brought to justice. He is still wanted for 2 counts of homicide in Michigan and is a federally wanted fugitive. His warrant will never expire, and authorities have made it clear that they will pursue him as long as it takes. Brown is described as a black male, 5 feet 8 inches, about 180 pounds, with black hair and brown eyes. At the time he fled, he may have had a short goatee. Importantly, marshals note that Brown could be hiding in plain sight, working odd jobs for cash. The marshals also emphasize that anyone who recognizes him should not approach, but call authorities immediately. We mentioned it, but they do consider him armed and dangerous.
He's an Aquarius.
No.
Mm-hmm.
That's mine. We're different rising signs, though. I don't know that.
Well, you probably would be because of the different years of birth. But yeah, he's February 3rd, 1974.
Oh,
so he would be 51?
Yeah, turning 52. Yeah.
Any alias?
Yes.
Marcus, Michael,
yes.
Carter.
And we will list all of those and a picture in our blog. And this is the part where we turn the narrative into action. You can contact the U.S. Marshal Service directly, or you can call 1-877-WANTED, WANTED 2. If you have any information on the whereabouts of Daryl Damon Brown. Even the smallest lead, law enforcement is begging you to come forward. Even if you don't have any information, there is a broader call to action. Share this story. Cherletta and Keyona deserve justice. Their family deserves justice for what happened to both of them. Share this story. Someone may see it for the first time. They may know
like
where
we
he
did.
is. Exactly. I couldn't believe that I haven't heard this case anywhere
Well,
before.
especially when tragedy continued to follow the family. That
Exactly.
seems like something that they would put on TV.
Yes, absolutely. We will list all of that in the show notes, and we will check back. It's added to my Google alert. See if there's movement.
Yeah, now I'm kind of invested that we find him.
Yeah, especially since Arizona is a possibility.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for joining us for this episode of Vanished Voices. We are grateful you've chosen to spend your time with us as we bring attention to these stories that too often go unheard. If you'd like to learn more about the resources and sources we use in today's episode, visit our blog, linked through our website at vanishedvoicespodcast.com. Be sure to connect with us on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. Just search for @VanishedVoicesPod. We'd love to hear your thoughts, feedback, and reflections, and to continue building this community with you. If you found value in today's episode, please take a moment to rate, review, and share the podcast. Your support not only helps us reach more listeners, but also helps amplify the voices of those who can no longer speak for themselves. Again, you can find Vanished Voices on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, YouTube, and all major streaming platforms. And as always, refuse to let these voices vanish.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you.